Hello everyone. I opened a Jiu Jitsu gym at age 23 and it failed. So I just want to tell the story behind that and why it failed, and just hopefully you can avoid the same mistake I did, and hopefully maybe myself in the future can avoid that mistake if I choose to open another one. So, and if I'm looking down, it's because I've got some notes here. So yeah, so the initial thought or plan, I guess, to open the Jiu Jitsu gym came in summer of 2023. I was volunteering at a youth camp, and I kind of messaged my brother. I was like, hey, I'm coming back into town in a few months. Like, where should we train? Because I had already been training for about 3 years at this point. And now 3 years is kind of not really enough to open a gym. It's kind of really on the lower end. But I just received my purple belt, and then by the time we opened the gym, it was like 8 months later. So I was about 4 months training or 4 years, sorry, training under my belt when I opened. So definitely possible, but kind of on the early end of when most people wait till they're black belt to open a gym. And honestly, that actually, my belt level didn't really play that much of a factor in the success of the gym. So anyways, the thought was, I'm coming back to town in a few months. Where should we train? So we threw a couple ideas around, like looked on Google Maps, and then we decided, kind of just as a joke, like what if we made our own gym? And that kind of sat there for a few weeks as just a joke, and then we kind of sort of started doing some serious brainstorming. Did some like preliminary like logo design and like thinking about names and stuff, which is not really the first thing you should think about when you're opening a gym. But I don't know, we just kind of playing around with the idea, and then I moved back to Edmonton, and we started training at our old gym, and we kind of just started thinking more about it, and we're like, hey, let's go for it. Which I'll talk more about this at the end, but that's a good thing. You should just do things. It's good to try and not let life pass you by, right? So we spent a lot of time looking for spaces. Finding a suitable space is actually quite difficult. So we spent a long time doing that. Probably spent 3 months looking for a space. Found one. Applied for permits, which costs a lot of money with the city to apply for certain permits. And if you're in the city of Edmonton, like me, you have to apply for a change of use if the previous registered business in the space was a different business type. So we had to apply for a change of use, which comes with a whole lot of inspections. So we had to pay for that. I think it was I don't remember exactly, like over $1,000. And then that space, there was some problem with it. After 2 months of them stringing us along and like applying for permits and stuff. The previous owner hadn't had a business in that space, or hadn't had a registered business in that space. The business was unlicensed, and I think that's actually quite common. I think a lot of businesses operate without licenses, but the city is just too understaffed to catch everybody, so it's very just common to not have a license. So when we actually did things the proper way, we screwed over the building owners, because that space that we were going to use was I forget what it's called, demised, I guess. Like, it had demising walls up. It was inside a larger unit, and it hadn't been addressed, given an address by the city, and there was just a bunch of problems with it. So they ended up having to tear that unit out because of us, because we applied for the city the proper way. So we did the right thing, but ended up screwing them over by accident, which sucked. And it also meant we couldn't use the space, so we were back on the hunt for another one. Eventually, we had sent out so many emails at that point that one of the people we'd sent an email to was a real estate agent, and he had found a place that had just opened up off, and it hadn't been put on the market yet. So he's kind of gave it to us, and it's really, really nice of him to do that. Pretty scary signing that paperwork. We didn't need to change a use on that one because it was a Tai Chi place before, so it was really nice we got grandfathered in. If you don't get grandfathered in, the hardest thing for a martial arts gym in Edmonton to get is the HVAC requirements. You have to have a certain amount of fresh air being pumped into the space, and RTUs, or rooftop units that have forced air, like fresh forced air, are really expensive, right? It can run you anywhere between $10,000 to $40,000, and then plus all the duct work to get it put in. So you don't want to have to install HVAC. So we got really lucky with the grandfathering thing. So anyways, also with how many permits and city stuff approval you need to get your business license, you'd think that Alberta and Edmonton's conservative, redneck, they'd push small business. We didn't really feel that way, having to go through all those steps. It was actually quite difficult. So not very pro small business in my opinion. But anyway, so we found the space. It was good, 2,000 square feet. There was some unused office space at the back that we could have used better, but that's all right. It was a good location. Front windows, which are nice, let in lots of light. Not so good with heat in the winter, right? You want more like shared warm walls to prevent heat loss. Anyways, the windows, they were kind of nice. They let in they had a little like nice entryway as well with the pony wall. It kind of divided the desk area with the shoes and the coats from the actual rolling space. We had about 950 to 1,000 square feet of rolling space, wall-to-wall mats. It was a really nice space. Our website's still up. You can go look at the gallery of photos. So, or maybe Google Maps will show the photos. But yeah, great space. Nothing wrong with it really. And so after opening day, we got some good interest. I think we had like 12 signups on like the first week. So we had lots of friends that we had anticipated would come, and many of them did come, which is great. We had a list of like 70 people maybe. And so, I don't know, 10 signing up is pretty good. I think they were all people we knew though in the first month. So no like, no like fresh people that like leads, I guess, just people we knew. So that was good. If you don't know, when you open a new like service-based business, you'll have a lot of days that are just slow and empty and no one's there. So just being emotionally prepared for like, hey, there's been 3 days in a row that no one's showed up. You just have to be okay with that. Another thing too is if you are a jiu-jitsu guy and you want to open a gym, just be aware that you'll be training with white belts, pretty much only white belts every day for like months and months. So you really appreciate if like a blue or purple belt comes through and you're like, wow, thanks, I actually get like some hard rolls. So it's quite annoying as well to always be rolling with white belts. We also had some experience running ads. So we did some ads through Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram. We did Google ads, and we also did some Yelp. The only really thing that we found was useful was the Instagram stuff. That actually gained us a lot of followers. Not a lot, but like a fair amount. So I would say Instagram ads are probably the way to go. Anyways, we had been open for 6 months. We'd been open for 4 months, and we're like, we are not breaking even. We needed 30 students to break even, and we'll talk about money a bit more in a second. But we weren't meeting that, so we were like, hey, we're gonna set a deadline for like October-ish, and if we don't like get like 15 students by then, like not breaking even, but like doing good, then we're gonna shut down. I should also mention we opened in May, so that after the first month of initial signups, summer hit, and in the gym and fitness industry, pretty much across the board, summer's like a slower season, at least in Edmonton. So a lot of people cancel the membership just because they're out of town or they wanted to be outside and didn't want to be training inside. So that was a hard hit for us. And then, so we did a really big social media push with like this 2-month 15 student deadline. We pre-filmed a lot of content, posting it every day, and that actually helped a lot. Consistent posting on Instagram got us a lot of followers. The problem was that it's followers in the jiu-jitsu niche, but they aren't necessarily in Edmonton. They're like in other places around the world. So our Instagram following grew, but we didn't really get more students from it. We got a few, but not that many. But I should mention, before we shut down, the business was growing, okay? Like the people that came loved it. And we had a few new signups, like maybe 1 every 2 weeks, or 2 every 2 weeks or something like that. It wasn't enough. So eventually we did make the decision to close the business. So the main reasons we decided to close the business was we thought we would really like teaching. It turns out we really like training, and we kind of like teaching. So we didn't have as much motivation to kind of hold on and kind of squeak by for more months, because my salary was just keeping the business open, right? I was just incurring so much debt every month. So if we had really loved teaching, we would have kept it open and it would have been profitable eventually, but we just didn't love it enough to keep it open. And the thing that killed us really was rent. So what we should have done is open in another location that we were just like subletting or whatever, like in another gym basically. So we have super cheap rent, and then just build up sort of a student base and a following and like an Instagram and all that stuff. And then after 6 months to 8 months, once you've got like that core critical mass, then you can sign a lease with proper rent. Our mistake is that we signed with proper rent from day one before we had done any like social awareness basically, and that lag time really killed us. So one thing that I wish I would have done differently is that obviously with the signing the lease later, I also would have probably started doing social media more. Like running ads is good, it works, but it's better to just post content in your niche, do that, and then do that consistently. That's better. But also for marketing, at least in the fitness industry and like Jiu-Jitsu gyms, word of mouth is king, right? So if you can get people talking about your gym and referring a friend, that's how people are actually going to sign up. Because you know what? Martial arts is intimidating for a lot of people. And so if they don't have a friend to bring them with them, they probably won't go to seeing an ad online, right? It's too intimidating. So, yeah, we also underestimated the time and expenses it would take to break even, right? Unless you do that strategy I outlined earlier where you open in another gym first and then transition after 6 to 8 months. If you want to open day one in like your own space, you're going to need a lot of spare change to do that. What else do I want to say? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the story behind it. So after 6 months, the business closed. We went bankrupt. So we had to liquidate what we had. And like people will always like cringe and like say like I'm sorry for you when I tell them this story, and like I appreciate that. Like I know that you care, but it's not that big of a deal, you know. Like you can't tie your success or failure in business to like your worth as a person, because it's just business, right? Like 1 or 2 small things could kill the business, like in our case. And if we had left it open, it would have been profitable, right? People that were coming liked it. So you can't just get down about it, right? You just gotta kind of move on with life. It's just part of life, right? So, and also you don't want to be that person that just has ideas and then like in 20 years it's like too late. Like they just let life pass them by. I'd rather be the person that went for it and incur some debt, but say you tried, right? And hey, I might give it another go in 6, 8, 10 years from now. I'll do it again and I'll know how to do it properly. And I actually learned a lot as well through this experience. That's probably worth like at least 1 or 2 years of business school, that experience right there. So yeah, anyways, hey, and the lesson is just go for it. Like what's the worst that could happen? Like basically what happened to us is the worst that could happen, right? We went bankrupt in 6 months. We incurred some debt. We kind of made a fool of ourselves to our friends, but who really cares? Like they're just going to forget about that. They probably actually respect us for just giving it a go, right? So yeah, remember, you can just do things, and you should. Don't let life pass you by. So, see ya.